Hey folks, it's Dave Neal, stand-up comic, host of the Rush Hour podcast with a Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively update. Special video dedicated just to Baldoni. You know, when we have new court documents that drop, we like to share them. The motion to compel is denied. This is a win for Justin Baldoni, albeit it might not be a large win, but following several losses, sometimes you just need to right that ship. Of course, Justin Baldoni's defamation case against Blake Lively was dismissed, all $400 million of it. I'm going to share a clip from a legal TikToker, TikTok lawyer, a law talk as it were, and I'm going to share what they had to say about why they think his defamation claims should be revisited. I'm also going to share Perez Hilton and how he's been accused of being pro Baldoni side and he's been banned from a sub. But first, we're going to dive into this motion, which was denied. Again, I don't know if this is a big one, but it's kind of like when you have a losing streak in baseball, sometimes you just need to get in the win column and, you know, you can right the ship. Blake Lively versus plaintiffs, all of them, the Wayfair parties, and then the Wayfair parties versus Blake Lively, cross lawsuits. Judge has ruled in denial. He's denied this. Blake Lively moves to compel Wayfair Studios and Tara Hanks, Mitz Toskovic, Ahmed Musial, Ashmi Elizabeth Dang, Shanika, these names can be, this is a tough, to produce materials in response to certain subpoenas served upon them in March of 2025 and requiring compliance in March of 2025. So they want, they're like, give us the info now. Blake Lively states that as of June 11th, the Wayfair third parties have not produced any document responsive to the subpoenas. The Wayfair third parties state that they are still collecting documents and additionally argue that this court lacks jurisdiction to compel compliance. Each of the subpoenas requires compliance in Los Angeles, except for the subpoena to Diane Solomon, which requires compliance in Atlanta. So again, some sort of very specific things going on here with the different jurisdictions. But they say this provision protects the interests of non-parties over which the court may not have jurisdiction. And then they, cite some court cases and whatnot. Well, the motion to compel is denied flat out, says the judge. And again, why is this? Well, the judge might say the deadline's the deadline. They'll get it to you when they get it to you. I honestly don't know. I guess we have to read between the lines. I'd like to know in the comment section what you guys think, but this literally came to my desk just minutes ago, so I wanted to share it with you. Few interesting things going on. If you didn't catch my morning episode, again, you know what's tough with the podcast? I do it every morning and every afternoon, is that I can never properly promote everything we talk about because we'll talk about 5 or 10 different things. There's wars breaking out in the Middle East. We talk about, there's a missing zebra running down the highway. There's a lot of content to get into. In this video this morning, we talked about the suspect that was captured in Minnesota. He assassinated lawmakers. It's a massive deal. And I have to choose what's my lead story. What do I put in the title? But we actually had a lot to talk about this morning's episode with regard to Baldoni, as Brian Friedman, Justin Baldoni's attorney, went on Megyn Kelly and actually was very sort of like, tight-lipped, as it were, when it came to discussing the Taylor Swift thoughts. And it can go one of either two ways. It can either go in the direction where he's got more on Taylor Swift and he does not want to let that on. Because now we're getting to this stage of the fight where he's about to depose Blake Lively. He doesn't want to give her the answers to the questions before he asks them. So it could go one of two ways. One, like I said, is he doesn't have much, and the other is he's got a lot, but he wants to get Blake Lively on record in a deposition. Thirdly, maybe he doesn't have anything, but he's bluffing. So he's but again, the idea that he doesn't have anything on Taylor Swift, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I can't make it make sense. If he had nothing on Taylor Swift, wouldn't she go public and say that? It sounds as though he's on thin ice, right? They've got Taylor Swift, who has this crazy info of Blake Lively, but maybe Taylor Swift's afraid of how Blake Lively could tarnish her brand. I mean, imagine your best friends out there. Everyone's got skeletons in the closet. And when you're someone like Taylor Swift, those skeletons might just be Taylor making fun of her ex-boyfriend, right? You break up with someone, oh yeah, that guy with his stupid hair and he's whatever, wears a dumb green hat, who knows, right? And then you say, you don't want that out there because your ex-boyfriend's a celebrity. So again, I don't know exactly why Brian Friedman is remaining so tight-lipped, but I'd love to know what your thoughts on that. So if you didn't check out that morning episode, and there might be more, we might have to play that clip again. Well, here's Perez Hilton with his website, plenty of pop-ups. He's making even me blush with the amount of ads here. Blake Lively judge failed to disclose connections to Star. Internet sleuths are digging for dirt. Now, again, we don't know if there's anything there with the judge. I think for democracy's sake, it's nice to assume that these judges are on the up and up, but there are systems in place that are there to prevent judges from possibly having a bias in one direction or another. Apparently, Michael Gottlieb, the lawyer for Blake Lively, has had a insane amount of cases in front of this specific judge. The judge's brother worked with Blake Lively as a director in the past. So there are weird things going on. And I think it's fair to talk about them and not throw democracy under the bus. There's weird things going on, but if there's some preponderance of evidence that this judge is on the take, then hopefully that would come out. But, there are connections, judges exist. We covered the Bachelor Clayton Echard case, and the judge, of course, was like, be accused by Laura Owen's crazy attorney of being a dirty judge because the judge had her father in the audience. It was bizarre. So there's always, from the dawn of day, one side will always claim the judge is kind of a dirty judge, but we don't have any real evidence of that other than the judge's brothers, whatever. But he didn't get to where he is from being, impartial, from being a dirty guy. I don't know. We'll have to see how that all plays out. So there's a lot here to discuss as we wait between what comes next, that being the depositions. But I wanted to play this clip from this lawyer here, who thinks they should, who says they basically would have reconsidered this defamation case because the judge dismissed the case, but without a leave to amend. So basically, Baldoni's side couldn't retry with new information or rework the way they're doing it. The judge is like, nope, done. Case is over. So basically ruled before this thing even went to trial. Here's what a lawyer says, ruminating about the Baldoni dismissal.
The thing that stood out to me was the, inability to refile and the Ryan Reynolds sexual predator statement. Because the logic there was that, according to
this is when Ryan Reynolds called Justin Baldoni a predator of the sexual kind. It's like that; those are heavy words. But Ryan Reynolds is saying, "Well, I'm just basing this on the information I heard." It's like, at what point is someone guilty of calling someone something so heavily weighted?
Judge that Ryan, of course, believed his wife in making those statements, and therefore you could never have actual malice, and that's why he's not letting him refile, saying there weren't specific enough allegations to get to the heart of actual malice. That's the one that stands out to me, of being I feel like this is shaky, and I know other people have said the same thing. And I was just going back through the amended complaint to what facts were alleged that could go to Ryan Reynolds' state of mind having a reckless disregard for the truth type thing, which is the heart of actual malice. Either that he knew it was false, or that he had a reckless disregard for the truth. And I think back to that apology that I think it was Ryan Reynolds wrote, or, he claims his team wrote or somebody, right? And he wanted Wayfarer and the parties to put it out, and they were like, no, and they denied the allegations, and they're like, no, we're not doing this because we didn't do anything wrong. And to me, I kind of feel like that probably should have crossed the Iqbal standard, or the threshold for Iqbal, and the Twombly standard too, which is on just motion to dismiss. There are two different cases that you read in law school that go to surviving a motion to dismiss and what needs to be there. So that's kind of the threshold. And to me, that fact, also, I think, obviously they had the return to work document at the penthouse meeting, but they were denying wrongdoing then, I believe, too. So I feel kind of all of those facts get me to there might be a reckless disregard.
Well, Katie Rose Pope on TikTok, she's doing a great job of saying, like, make it make sense. There's all these different things that line up between Ryan Reynolds, that that it should at least get to the burden crossing the threshold. It might not be one specific thing, but it's like they tried to get Baldoni to, like, do this public apology. They were like, we're not going to admit to that. They tried to get him to sign the 17-point things. He had to do it in order to get the project made. They tried. And like, at what point does it not all add up? So it's interesting to see lawyers like Katie Rose Pope here. I don't know what her credentials are, but she seems wildly competent as she's like struggling to make it make sense why this didn't. It's like, look, we're not at the stage where we're trying to get a decision in front of a jury. They're just trying to get it to trial. So either way, you see these sort of losses that Baldoni took, and it's like, sure, they didn't think they knew the risk in going after defamation, that it would be a high threshold, but they also, probably, it seems like, had the most amount of reason for this to go to trial with, before it hit whatever this judge's, criteria was. So again, Baldoni wins this round. The motion to compel denied. Doesn't really mean too much. But what does Brian Friedman know? I'm telling you, I know I'm feeling like a quack. But what does he know that he's not letting on? And gosh, are they selling tickets for that deposition? I'd love to sit in. All right. My guess is if anything comes out from that deposition that's like really juicy, that it might get leaked. But either way, I mean, this puppy's going to trial, baby. Get ready, March. It's going to be chilly in New York. The wind's whipping. It's late winter. We'll have to see if the groundhog sees his shadow or not. But I'm going to be prepared with my long johns on to give you guys all the coverage. Make sure you're subscribed for that. This afternoon, I've got some crazy stories coming up next. I'm working on them right now. The behind the scenes Patreon gets to see at patreon.com/Dave Neal. I share with them. They watch the screen as I put all the content together. But what I'm working on next is some real wild stuff. I mean, there's these wars breaking out. There's literally like video of newsrooms getting bombed, and it's I know it's a lot and very heavy to discuss, but are we about to be sucked into it? I mean, it means a lot to us, that, and then the updates on the assassin from Minnesota and the gunfire that was exchanged before he broke loose, and then they finally got him. So again, lots and lots to get into. Plus, Donald Trump, I guess, has a new cell phone company they're making. Oh my gosh, could you imagine what sort of a-hole would be calling someone on a megaphone? Not a megaphone, a megaphone. All right, those stories and more coming next. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you click on that video. We'll see you guys in a bit.